Hey everyone, welcome to episode 2 in the Slingshot series. I'm Nithya Karia, a productivity and lifestyle coach helping busy women become happy on purpose. And today's episode is all about this idea of bouncing back. It is something that we are applauded for. It's something that we're told is going to contribute to our happiness. And I don't want to fully take that away, but I want to talk about something that's going to help you go deeper and be more effective in this. So, bouncing back, this idea of resilience, and I think it's something that we hear a lot, and we're probably applauded for it. Your friends maybe have, said things to you like, "Oh my gosh, that was so great. You're so strong. You went through that experience, a breakup or a difficult move, or maybe you got fired and something happened and you bounced back." Okay. And I don't want to take that away from you, right? I want you to always own your wins. That is really powerful. But I also want you to think about how bouncing back can also kind of wear us down. Now, why does it do this? Because when we're bouncing back, right, even the word resilience, we think about it, it's defined as a returning to an original state. And when we end up in the same place that we kind of started after we've been set back, again, yes, it's great that we have made the progress back. But what happens is then we end up in a bit of a sort of decision and kind of life hamster wheel. It's a really cyclical experience where we start to find ourselves, when we're in more or less the same place, making more or less the same decision. And what happens when we are not changing any of the variables in our experiences is we inevitably get the same experience in some form or another. So what does this look like in life? I've had clients that have expressed this as believing that they have a bad picker, right? That they're somehow bad at relationships. I've had clients share with me that they feel like they're bad with time management. Maybe they're procrastinators, or that they're bad with money, right? Whatever it is, right? Whenever we have this belief that we don't have the thing that we want, right? Love, financial freedom, time freedom, because we are or are not something, right? So we believe that there's a lack or a fault or something that resides within us that's not allowing us to have something that we want in life, right? That is part of a kind of negative habitual pattern that happens when we're simply bouncing back. So again, if you're somebody who's experienced this, right, with a relationship, it might look like you meet somebody and you enter a relationship with somebody, and then you end up kind of down the same road feeling like things just aren't going your way. Maybe it's not supportive, not healthy, and you end up kind of feeling back in this place where you didn't want to be. And so you break up with the person and then you kind of start again. And it's great that you've again bounced back to a place where you feel like you can be open to kind of partaking in another relationship and to engaging in something new again. But the problem is that now you also have, and for good reason, right? This is the way our brains work. They are looking to affirm the thoughts that we have in our head, right? This is called negativity bias. And when I already have the thought in my head, because of the past experiences I've had, that I'm not good at picking a partner, because look what happens every time, or at least look what happens even last time, right? Even if this is early on and you're starting to feel this kind of idea or these thoughts develop within you, right? What can we do to move past this? And this is what I work with my clients around, because the goal is not just resilience, this idea of bouncing back to an original place. What we want to do is really implement something that allows us to have a growth mindset. That's where we want to be. Because when we can create a growth mindset, right, and we are allowing ourselves to not simply stop at just where we were originally, but we actually get to go ahead, that's really powerful, right? So that every setback is always a set up for something greater. That feels really empowering. And, my clients going through this Slingshot growth system have really been able to offer themselves some really powerful life shifts through actually just this one little tiny puzzle piece. And it's what I call the win-learn, right? And again, I talk a lot about this idea of microdosing our happiness, that happiness isn't this thing that we get that's a huge investment and that requires something enormous from us in life, right? Happiness really, it just asks for our commitment and our consistency. And so when I talk about this idea of microdosing happiness, it is through these sort of small habits that we develop through my program. And this has really offered my clients like three really big things, right? First is just this awareness. So when I start to actually practice this win-learn, and this is the strategy, this growth mindset around forming better habits around decisions. When I create win-learn, right? Nelson Mandela said this really beautifully. He said, I never lose. I either win or I learn. And that's sort of really where I got this idea, right? That when we are instituting and we're replacing really an old habit, right? The idea of, we know win-win, right? But when we replace win-lose with win-learn, we are creating more safety for us, really. And we're also creating the idea of possibility within us, that things can be different. And when I believe that something's different, I actually see different choices, right? I can start to, again, with this clarity that my clients are getting, they are getting awareness. And when they start to see this idea that, hey, there's something that I'm doing, and they're actually starting to notice it, then they're shifting into the next piece, which they get, which really snowballs into a positive snowball effect of feeling in control, right? When I know what I'm doing, I also know what I can change. So I'm just harnessing this power of knowing how I can make a different decision and get a different outcome. And this automatically snowballs into the next idea, this next experience of confidence. And when I'm more confident in even one piece of my life, right, I'm actually, it's enhancing every piece of how I show up in all the other parts of my life. That's just the beauty of how confidence works. So, with this clarity, with this control, and with this confidence, they are essentially learning how to get unstuck in a natural way, right? It flows, and this is starting to be the way that they just see things. And instead of having to go through that kind of hamster wheel of stuck of making a choice that doesn't feel good, feeling like they have a setback, and then, kind of using all this energy to just get back to where they started, they're actually, through the experience, learning something. So they're slingshotting forward and they're in a new place. So when they get to that new perspective, right, and you're climbing the mountain, you have a new perspective. There's new insight that you have, and you're not making the same choices. So they're automatically getting unstuck. And, it's all a growth process, right? So we're always moving towards the thing that we actually want. And that feels so empowering. And again, just increases and boosts our confidence levels. And it also just lets us then start to even look to new experiences, try new things, be less afraid of really re-experiencing what can feel kind of traumatic sometimes when we have been, and if we have been stuck in something, for a long time, again, in that bounce back cycle. So I highly recommend this win-learn. This is the strategy. It's a small piece of within the Slingshot growth system that I teach. And it's really powerful. And as a challenge to you, after you watch this episode, I'd love for you to pick something in your life, something, and if you don't want it to start out being really hard, pick something that just didn't feel good, that didn't go well, or didn't go perfectly or smoothly, and sit with it. And sit with it until you can come up with 3 really great things that actually happened because of it, right? Maybe you learned something, maybe you met someone, maybe you moved to a different area, or you had an adventure or a positive experience that came from it. Maybe you had to, change your business structure, which was hard, but that led to increased growth. Maybe you got fired, but then you ended up getting a new job, moving to a new neighborhood and meeting a great neighbor or a new friend. Or so many times we don't realize that there is something to harvest from every experience that we have, especially the negative ones. And it's a really powerful shift. So that's it for today's episode, and I will see you here next week. And do be sure, if you are looking for a quick win again around just harvesting more energy to show up in your life, to grab my free download, 4 ways to increase your energy. And I will see you all next week.